Since Freedom's Journal, the first Negro newspaper, the press has grown to include magazines and other media of communication, radio stations, a newsreel, and a news service supplementing over 200 Negro newspapers published in 35 states, the District of Columbia and Alaska, to serve the race. Progress was summed up at the recent Baltimore meeting of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, organized in 1940 for the benefit and improvement of the Negro press. One highlight of the Publishers Convention was a tour of the Afro-Americans printing plant, a busman's holiday for these newspaper men, and an interesting view of a leading newspaper's operation. In the newsroom, editor Cliff McKay goes over a story with a reporter. Then pneumatic tubes carry the copy to the composing room, where printers set the type and assemble it for publication. A proof or trial printing is run off and checked for accuracy on each story. Then the assembled type for each page is transferred to papier-mâché mats, which serve as molds for the plates that actually print the newspaper. Then the mighty presses begin to roll. With a circulation of nearly 200,000 weekly, the Afro-Americans presses consume nearly 3,000 tons of newsprint each year. Printing is a speed operation. Coming off the presses, the papers are quickly bundled, wrapped, and rushed to waiting trucks for distribution across the nation. Civic laurels came to the Miami Times and its editor-publisher Garth Reeves, named Man of the Year by the city's Junior Chamber of Commerce. The progressive young newsman is active in civic and fraternal affairs, in addition to his unceasing efforts to keep the Times among the state's top-ranking newspapers. Circulation is about 5,000, but the small figures don't indicate the true local influence of the Times, whose exploration of the Dade County housing problem has received widespread attention. In brief ceremonies in the Times offices, Junior Chamber of Commerce leaders present Reeves with a Man of the Year plaque, recognition of distinguished community service. Outgoing JC President Roscoe Webb makes the presentation and is the first to extend congratulations to Garth Reeves, outstanding journalist and citizen. The Kansas City Call, founded in 1919, is one of the youngest of the leading papers, but it is second to none in carrying forward the tradition of sound reporting and editorial leadership in community service. The Call is an influential journal in the Midwest. It's notable, too, for its modern printing facilities. News stories are set into print on recent model linotypes. Meanwhile, photographs are chemically engraved onto zinc plates. Then both news stories and photos are transferred to curved stereotype plates and fitted to the presses that serve some 40,000 readers. Both in circulation and as a force for progress in the community, the Chicago Defender ranks as one of the leaders of the Negro press. Its huge plant also prints 5 others in the widespread Defender newspaper group, which means constant activity in the composing room. Publisher and editor John Sengstack keeps a watchful eye on every detail of each edition. The title of the West's fastest-growing, most progressive newspaper is claimed by the Los Angeles Sentinel with a circulation of 26,000. Business manager Dora Moore has guided the affairs of the Sentinel since the retirement of its founder, Leon H. Washington, and this thriving paper is among the most notable in the 4th estate of the West Coast. Mrs. Washington still takes an active part in the enterprise. Serving readers scattered throughout the far-flung Los Angeles area, The Sentinel's delivery trucks run up more mileage than most as they make their weekly rounds. Top rank in circulation is held by the Pittsburgh Courier. Publisher Mrs. Robert Vann and editors William Nunn and P.L. Prattis oversee 17 weekly editions. The Amsterdam News and the Age Defender serve New York. The only Negro daily is the Atlanta World. Providing these newspapers with reporting no single independent enterprise could afford is the Associated Negro Press, international in scope. Its headquarters in Chicago, the nerve center for a network of correspondents in every American and foreign news center. It's an invaluable central source of news to supplement local coverage, airmailing its bulletins to subscribing newspapers everywhere in the country. Founder and head of the Associated Negro Press is Claude Barnett, well known for his public service, which has included government work and a position on Tuskegee's board of directors. Among the ANP correspondents is fashion editor Mrs. Freddie Henderson, shown visiting the United Nations gift shop. She's also president of the National Association of Fashion Designers. Hollywood correspondent Harry Levette interviews top personalities such as radio and movie star Ruby Dandridge to keep the thousands who follow his column posted. Gladys Graham covers New York. She's as familiar a figure among New York's downtown municipal buildings as in Harlem. In the United Nations, Samuel Perry follows the workings of international diplomacy, in close contact with figures of global importance. In Washington, D.C., Mrs. Alice Dunnigan is among the bare handful of women who are accredited White House correspondents. One of several African correspondents is Bankole Timothy of Gold Coast, shown here with Premier Kwame Nkrumah. London Representative Sam Morris divides his time between Parliament and the British Colonial Office. At the United Nations, we find a representative of the comparatively small number of Negro newsmen working for the national press. The arena of the world's top-level diplomacy is the beat of Arch Parsons, bureau manager for the New York Herald Tribune, one of the country's leading newspapers. A graduate of the University of Michigan, Parsons put in 1 year with the New York Age before joining the Herald Tribune staff in 1949. After 2 years on general assignments, he was sent to the United Nations. Today, his stories rate front-page bylines in a newspaper noted nationally for the excellence of its reporting. In the conference rooms of the UN, Arch Parsons is on the scene as history is made. Just at the beginning of his career in journalism, he is already close to the top. But the press is more than the printed word. In modern America, broadcast news plays an important role. More and more stations are devoting time to the affairs of the race in the North and South alike. Recently named news director of an independent New York radio station is G. James Fleming. Formerly editor of the New York Amsterdam News, he now presides over the hourly community news broadcasts from the station studios in Harlem's Hotel Teresa. Gathering the news and reducing it to the proportions of a 5-minute broadcast puts the highest demands on the radio editor's ability. In addition to his broadcasts as news commentator, Fleming also sits in on the station's forum show, The Editors Speak, the first panel discussion program of its type to regularly feature Negro newsmen discussing current affairs of national and world importance, as well as community problems. At Richmond station WLEE, the voice of commentator George Clark has a regular audience. On the air for 7 years, he was the first of the race to enter the radio news field. And George Clark still ranks high as an ace newscaster. Reporting the achievements and accomplishments of the group on film are the many cameramen of American Newsreel, the only newsreel in its field. A constantly busy telephone and teletype network links the far-flung operations. Thousands of feet of film are screened by expert editors each week. American Newsreel has served its audience of millions since 1941. In the magazine field, Our World ranks at the top. The pictorial news magazine is consistently outstanding for its cover illustrations, and these scenes from a typical session in Our World studios give a good idea why. The news magazine is the newest field of major expansion in the press. The growth of Johnson Publications of Chicago in 11 years of operation has been most impressive. Its products, Ebony, Jet, and Hue, are newsstand favorites. Luxurious editorial offices are eloquent testimony to the success of this publishing venture. But the surroundings don't interfere with business. Typical is the art department, one of the busiest sections, where the pages of the magazines are laid out before publication. Under the guidance of founder John H. Johnson, Ebony and Jet have risen to the top of their field, the newest additions to the Negro press, an institution without equal, serving 1/10 of a nation.